Hello, everybody. Welcome along to another one of these Light and Land live streams. Hopefully, you are joining me either on YouTube or on Facebook. Do drop me a comment if you can. Obviously, if you're on YouTube, you do need to be logged in. You need to have an account to drop a comment in there. So if you're watching there but you want to get involved and you don't have a YouTube account, just jump over to Facebook. If you have a Facebook account, you can comment through there. So basically, if you're with me, and if you can see me and hear me and you want to check in and say hello, do let me know where you're watching from. That would be very good. I am based, as ever, down on the Jurassic Coast in Dorset. And I am, however, wearing my, wrong way, Lancashire cricket t-shirt because obviously it's been a big week for the cricket, but we're not here to talk about that. We are here to talk photography just for half an hour or so. It's a slightly shorter show when it's just me on my own. And I'm going to talk you through some of the latest news, exhibitions, informations. We're going to have a little look at my book of the month, which is a book you can't buy new, and I'm going to talk to you all about that as well. But just hello from Massachusetts. Hello, it's very, very nice for you to have us along there. Massachusetts, how's Massachusetts today? I've got no idea. That should be warm probably, but do let me know. If anyone else out there wants to give me a weather report, it's very British, isn't it? Find out the weather when you're meeting people. I always get into those conversations with people as well. And Diana is watching us in Wales. Welcome along, Diana. Thank you for coming. Paul in Chesterfield. And Lennox lets us know, yeah, it's wet and warm in Massachusetts. Okay, probably humidity perhaps. So, as ever on these news shows, essentially, I try my very best to multitask, and I'm going to talk to you, like I say, about a number of new things that are out into the photography market. There isn't much actual kit and gear in the last couple of weeks that I've seen, but we're going to talk about one cool little thing. I'm going to let you know about an exhibition which is going on in the UK. So I'm sorry our US viewers won't be able to get over to that, I doubt. But we're also going to talk about a number of new tours and workshops which Light and Land have released, and couple of really good competition things, a chance for you to win thousands of pounds in prizes. And also we're going to talk about the competition winners from last month because we ran a street photography competition, and we had a couple of people watching the stream who entered their images, one of whom I think was a runner-up, and I'm going to show you the winner of that as well. So forgive me while I'm rambling. I'm just letting people jump on because I know it takes a few minutes for everyone to get onto the stream. Ken is with us from the Isle of Sheppey again. Welcome back, Ken. And Jan from the Highlands. Fab. And we've got Buckinghamshire as well. Barbara, fab. Nice to see you back too. So, as I say, forgive me talking into the ether, but I will do my best to make some sense. Let's get into just a very quick bit of kit that I've got at the beginning of this show. And then, like I say, we're going to talk about a couple of competition things, a couple of tour things, big Light and Land celebration that I'm going to let you know about coming up very soon as well. So let's just get into here. So the first little bit of kit I wanted to talk about, as I say, it's been a bit of a slow equipment sort of a week. Actually, I've been trying to keep my eye on anything new coming out, anything exciting. But probably the most exciting thing I found was this Instax Fuji camera. So these are little square cameras that you can preload the back with little film cartridges. I know it sounds like 50 years old, doesn't it? And you can take a picture and it comes out just like a Polaroid. I'm sure everyone remembers having Polaroids. Do we all have Polaroids? I had a Polaroid when I was a kid. Hi, Andrew in Chester. Welcome along. Lovely. I love Chester. Don't want to go off piece too far, but fantastic cathedral. It's a favourite place of mine there. And Paul in Pinner as well. So sorry to interrupt. Yes, we're talking about the Instax. So this is quite a cool little bit of kit, bit of a hipster thing. I think that's fair to say. The point is you can have it out with you. You can shoot quick images, and in 90 seconds they pop out the top in a fully developed square piece of film, basically just like a Polaroid. Now, this square one is a new one. It's a bigger format, feels quite nice in the hands from the looks of things. And you can choose a range of different films, black and white films, color films. So essentially it's like having a film camera with you at all times, but you get the image right there in your hand. You don't have to send the film off and wait for it. I have only played with an older version of an Instax, and the quality was pretty good, I think, especially in black and white. But it'd be interesting to know how these come out. As I say, they are available with a variety of film types, so you can pick and choose. £135, is that expensive? Is it cheap? I'm not sure. What do you think? But what I do know is for a pack of 50 film cartridges or sheets, it's £40. So you're basically working about £1 a shot. Now, bearing in mind, a lot of these things you kind of use for fun. They're really good at weddings, actually, and parties. You put them on the desk or on the table, sorry, people shoot with them. And this is what it looks like. It's cool, isn't it? People shoot with them and they take funny pictures of each other, and they hand them around. And like I say, it's a cool thing to have at a wedding or a 50th birthday party or whatever it might be. I also know a couple of travel photographers who always take an Instax printer with them, but also some who take these little cameras. And if they're out shooting street stuff or portraits of people, they just crack off a quick one on the Instax, and then they give the subject matter, or the people they've been shooting, or the group, whatever it is. They give them one of these instant images that comes out of the camera itself, like I say, just like a Polaroid. And that's a neat little way to make a connection with, especially when it's a foreign country and you want to kind of show people what you're doing in your photography. With digital, okay, you can show them the back of the screen, but they never get to see the real thing. So having an Instax with you, maybe that's quite a cool little way to get around that. Obviously, being 2023, this has a selfie mode. What is a picture unless we can stick ourselves in front of it? But they've done this in quite a neat way. It's difficult probably for you guys to see that, but there's a little mirror on the front of the lens. So if you're holding it up towards yourself to take a selfie, if you see yourself in the mirror on the front of the lens where it's highlighted just in red there, you can see yourself on the screen. Bang, take the selfie. And it might be quite cool if you're with a celebrity. How about that? Take a picture of yourself with Charlie Waite, get him to sign it. There you go. Instax Fuji. They should have put that in their advertising, shouldn't they? All right, that is it for gear. Not a gear heavy day, I'm afraid, but as and when more exciting gear happens, I will get it in the news show next month. So let's move on. Quick one, exhibition. I won't be long on this because obviously our members who maybe aren't in the UK are going to struggle to get there. But the Royal Photographic Society have their summer exhibition. It's their members' summer exhibition. That just means the people exhibiting are RPS members. The exhibition itself is open to everybody who wants to go and visit it. It features 80 different Royal Photographic Society members and various of their images. 80 images, various members. And it's quite a broad church from what I've seen of the exhibition entries. There's a variety of work, landscape, portrait, environmental, close-up, macro, astro, all sorts of things. And that is one great thing about the RPS in these member exhibitions. You do get a really broad range of work. Now, for any of you who don't know, the RPS gallery is located in their Bristol HQ. So if you actually can get down to Bristol, it's right next to the Martin Parr Studio Foundation building as well. And so you can spend a good day delving into all things photographic in that Bristol area. And like I say, the RPS have a number of exhibitions that they rotate throughout the course of the year. This particular one is on from the 1st of July to the 28th of August. And you can find out more about that rps.org. Just out of interest, actually, out there, any of you RPS members? And hello, Jez. You're going to be featured in a minute, my man. So thank you for coming. Anyone out there RPS members? Do you enjoy it? Do you do much with it? Have you been to the RPS in Bristol? Let me know in the comments, anyone who has. All right, let's keep it rolling. Let's talk competition results. Now, last month, and indeed every month for these news shows, I'm going to let you know about a light and land photography competition, and it is normally announced on our light and land newsletters, email newsletters, and that is always the absolute best place to catch up with whatever's going on light and land wise, competitions, exhibitions, tours, offers, whatever it might be. So sign up to that if you aren't already via the Light and Land website. P.S. There is a little gremlin on the site right now, which I'm hoping they're fixing, that the site may be off. So don't race there right now. Stick with me for this and then maybe have a look tomorrow. But we ran last month a street photography competition, and that was in part because we had Mark Seymour on the Light and Land live stream. So you can, if you haven't seen that with Mark, we talked about a load of his street photography images from various parts of the world. So you can jump back on YouTube and see that at another time. But we put the call out there for the competition in June, which was street photography. And this is the winning image by Valerie Mather. Let me get that, make sure I've got that right, correct, Valerie Mather. Now, it may be difficult if you're viewing this on a small screen, but so I'm just going to zoom in. Hopefully you can see the horse's head, which is rather alarmingly protruding directly out of that second floor window. Seems a bit odd, doesn't it? And I love this image. I didn't pick the winner. It's nothing to do with me. I'm just preaching the results. But it's a fantastic image, Valerie. Super spot, obviously. And I think, like we talked about with Mark in the live streams, some of the best quote unquote street photography images are where there's a curious moment, an incidental, humorous, odd. It's that second that makes you stop and look and see and think, what the heck is going on there? And that would generally translate to quite a nice image. So Valerie, I love this. Amazing work. Fantastic. You were the winner of the June competition. I don't know where it was. I didn't get that caption, I'm afraid. So I can't tell you where there's a horse in the second floor of a building with this beautiful sun, these beautiful lines, reflections, because it's not just the horse. Everything else still has to work, right? The composition is really strong. It's anchored and held together by all these diagonals, the lines, the shadows of those telephone lines, the color of that stone of the building as well, the horse's head, just how it's sort of plonking out of the window, the big gap above in the window. I could go on, sort of deconstructing the image, but I think it's really cool. And I actually think the temptation might have been, and I'm speculating, but I'm trying to imagine myself there, the temptation might have been to zoom right in and say, here's a horse poking its head out of a window. But I think personally, and this is up for debate, of course, what makes it is the wider view, so that we suddenly understand this horse is in a building, 10, 15 feet above street level. And so Valerie made absolutely the right decision with this image to let us see the street scene. And obviously we can understand that because there's a car parked and cars don't levitate. So we know that that must be where the floor is. So excellent image, Valerie. And anyone out there, if you're shooting street and or just travel and you want to, capture these sort of curious moments, you've just got to keep your eyes out. You never know, you might see a horse's head poking out the window. It's possible. We did also have two runners-up, Barry Cooper. I know Barry's been on a workshop with me, and Jez Cunningham. Jez, fellow Dorset chap. Jez, you're with us on the live stream. You were a runner-up along with Barry. I believe this is Barry's image. This is the street photography competition I'm talking about from June for Light and Land. And I'm going to tell you about July's competition in a moment and how you can enter. Again, this is a fantastic image. Everybody's covered apart from this rather aggravated looking member of the public. I probably shouldn't say any more than that, but that was fun. And this is, I believe, Jez's image. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jez, but I believe that is your image. And yes, passing the time of day, these two. Let me give it its full thing. Sorry, Jez, I crunched it there on the screen. Space. Again, we talked about Valerie not diving into close up on that horse's head. And I think what works really well in this image, obviously, we've got the tittle tattle being spoken perhaps between the two older ladies here. I'm guessing we're in some sort of Mediterranean situation, having been in lots of those myself. You never know, although they are coated, it doesn't look too warm. But giving them the space, giving 2/3 of that image space on the right hand side, I actually think it's really, really helped it. If it was too tight, it wouldn't quite work as well for me. But so well done, Jez and Barry, and of course Valerie for the winning image. Now let's just move on to the July competition. Now I've stolen this image from Charlie. This is one of Charlie Waite's images of a Highland cow, and I love it because it still sort of shouts Charlie. Now this image, this competition, you can enter. Let me just get that back up. Sorry. Until the Thursday, the 20th of July. So anybody watching this live stream, you're able to enter this competition. Animals is the theme. Okay, so pictures of animals, you can interpret that in any which way you wish to. They could be closer up like this. They could be animals in the landscape. It could be an abstract of an animal. It could be an essence of an animal. Who knows? Something animal related is what we're looking for. Wildlife, I suppose. And Charlie, like I say, I borrowed this image from him. This is a fantastic image of a Highland cow who seems to be very photogenic, don't they? I've seen lots of nice Highland cow images. If you want to get involved in this monthly competition, you just need to email 2 images. You can have 2 maximum entries. Okay, so pick your best 2. Just send us a reasonable size JPEG via email to admin@lightandland.co.uk by the 20th of July, and make sure you include your name, the location where you took the image, the date, and just a couple of lines about a bit of background. You know, if there's some humorous story, or maybe let us know what the wildlife is if it's not overly obvious. So you can enter into that competition, and you know what you're going to win? Adoration from your peers, and you will be featured in the Light Land newsletter and indeed on this news show next month when we pick out the winner as well. So do get involved with that if you wish to. Now, final bit of competition stuff, and I can't say a huge amount about this other than basics, that 2024 is going to be a very big year for Light and Land. Now, you might ask why I've got a picture of 3 pink cars in Cuba. Well, it seemed kind of pretty celebratory, so just bear with me on that. But in 2024, and in the lead up to 2024, there's going to be a number of events, competitions, offers, and all sorts of exciting things happening, because we, Light and Land, are 30 years old. Can you believe it? When Charlie and Sue originally started doing tours and workshops 30 years ago. And I can say this because obviously I'm a late entrant to this. It was at the time quite a unique thing to be doing. There were some tours running, but they were more sort of holidays. They weren't necessarily focusing on the photography. And so when Charlie Waite and Sue Bishop originally started Light and Land and began running tours, I believe in the Lake District and a couple of others, they were doing something fairly pioneering and taking people along, and so they could enjoy their photography in various parts of the UK. And then obviously it's grown now to be what it is, where we take people all over the world on photographic tours and workshops, short and long form, as it were. So in a nutshell, the first thing I can actually tell you about, and the rest is going to come in another show in a month or so, where we're going to have Astrid McGeechan with us, who she's going to be explaining quite a lot of the new exciting things that are going to be coming up. But the first thing I can tell you is that we are running this competition to win 3 big money prizes, and those prizes can be used against the cost of a Light and Land tour or workshop. So there's just a little bit of T's and C's to be involved in this. If you want to enter, this competition is open to anyone who is due to go on a tour or workshop with us between July the 1st this year and the end of December. Now, you may have already booked that, and you're going to be going on one with us in October, November already, and you've got it booked. Great. Or you might be considering booking something with us in the next few months. You would also be able to enter the competition. And to do that, all you need to do is email us your information to the usual email address, admin@lightandland.co.uk. It's scrolling across the bottom of the screen, and you can always replay this at another time. And you need to tell us your name, etc. And very importantly, you need to have your booking reference number. Okay. And that allows us to identify that you are indeed someone who has booked on a tour between July the 1st this year and the end of December this year. So to recap, you could win either £3,000, which is the first prize, £2,000 is the second prize, or £1,000 is the third prize. And those prize monies can be used towards the cost of any tour in 2024 with Light and Land. Hopefully that's clear. If you have any questions, pop them in the comments and/or drop an email to admin@lightandland. But essentially, if you have already booked for something July to December this year, or you're going to book anything July to December this year, you can enter by emailing your booking reference this competition to win 3,000, 2,000 or £1,000. And then you can use that money against something 2024. Cuba, India, New York. These are all places we're going in 2024, which you could use that money towards. Now, just briefly, I want to pick up on this. Ken was on the first Lake District tour. And indeed, Barbara was on one of those first tours 30 years ago. So I would say from me to you, and especially from Charlie and indeed Sue, who was there in the early days and still is, both of them doing work with us. Thank you very much to both of you for supporting Light and Land as you have done throughout the years. And the many of you I know who will watch this, who've been on a Light and Land workshop or tour and or who may be about to go on one in the future, we very, very much appreciate all your ongoing support because we love taking you to various places around the world. And that is what we're going to talk about next. Now, just before we do, I'm going to pick up, I was talking, wasn't I, about the RPS. Yes, there's a good number of members out there, it seems, who are watching. Paul, yes, yes, and yes, re-RPS. I can't remember the 3 questions, Paul, but thank you. You did at the time, and Barbara is with us. And indeed, Chris, who was watching, who's a very experienced and prestigious member of the RPS, sits on the panels and looks after all of that and a lot of the things that go on in terms of RPS work. I very much encourage you to get involved with them and see what they have on their agenda. They have lots of talks, events, and things that you can go to, as well as the exhibitions. So let's just keep it rolling for time purposes, because I need to talk to you about a couple of upcoming workshops. And then we're going to talk about my book of the month. So we're going to just talk now about a couple of upcoming things that you might be interested in. And like I say, then I'm going to talk about my book of the month, which features a female landscape, well, a female British photographer who is no longer with us, but I am a big fan of her work. We'll come to that in a moment. Before we do, let's get on to this. That young man there is Adrian Beasley. Now, he is a Light and Land tutor. He's an excellent photographer. He's going to be joining me in 2 weeks' time for our next live stream. That's not what I'm going to talk about right now, though. I want to talk about his upcoming workshop, which is landscape photography using your mobile phone. So this is a full 3 or 4 day tour with Adrian, just with your phone. Just with that. Can you imagine? No tripod, no bags, no filters, no heaviness. How liberating. Adrian will be showing you capture, process, print, professional quality images for you to share in print and on screen, and make just using your phone on this workshop. Now, we've done at least one of these before, maybe 2. It was very, very popular, and there was some really cool feedback from a lot of the people that went on that particular tour with Adrian. And it's absolutely true, as I think we all know there, that you can use a phone legitimately like any other camera. I'm sure a lot of you do. So I suppose my question would be, though, if you take those pictures, how many of you printed from your phone? And do you share those images on your website or on social media or wherever it may be? Or do you still see the phone as something just for quick captures? Adrian and I and many others would say to you, why not try it? And actually, this is a really cool workshop because by telling you not to bring your camera and your big lenses and all the rest of it, it is very, very liberating, and you can just concentrate on the image making process and using your phone. Now, obviously, I've got black and white examples here. There would be occasion to do color as well. But the whole capture, process, and print with Adrian is 4th of March to the 7th of March. That'll be based in the southwest of England, lightandland.co.uk. You can find out all the information about that. Now, Andrew, you made a comment. I'm going to pick that up in a minute about the Venice tour, so I'll come to you in a moment. Before I do, though, I just want to talk about a new tour which Charlie and Phil Malpas are doing. I don't have Phil's picture, so I'm leading here with Charlie. Phil, hopefully he'll forgive me for that. They are going to Tuscany in 2024, and specifically the 4th to the 11th of May 2024. for Phil and Charlie against Tuscany. Now, Charlie in the very early days of Light and Land did a good number of Tuscany tours, and then I believe Phil and Clive took over that tour, and Phil and Clive did it for many years. It was always and always has been one of, if not the most popular tour that we run for a number of reasons. One, the location. You're speaking to someone who has an Italian wife, so I don't need any persuading, but the Tuscany, simply amazing for landscape photography. Two, Charlie, Phil, and indeed Clive, whilst he was doing these, know this area inside out, and they've found new places and they continue to find new exciting places. So if you wanted to go to Tuscany, if it's on your bucket list, if you've never done it and you want to go, there is no better people, or there are no better people to go with Charlie Waite and Phil Malpas, both very, very experienced and both see the world quite differently, and you get a great deal of input from both of them. So 4th, 11th of May, a nice week, perfect time of year to go. Beautiful rolling landscapes, changing weather, sun, clouds, mist, as you can see here. It's a little sampler for you. Those would be well worth checking out, lightandland.co.uk. Now, just before I get onto the final segment, which is just going to be 5 minutes or so, where I cover my book of the month, sorry. Andrew has mentioned here, he is booked on the Venice tour in January next year. He can't wait. Lucky boy. Not a bad tour to go on. Would it be possible to have Phil, who leads the tour, on the show? Yes, I have hassled Phil before. He always tells me he's busy. I think he's just dodging me. I will try, Andrew. I will say that one of the viewers has requested him, and I will see if I can finally get Phil on the live stream. I'll do my very best, but I can't promise. All right, let's get into our final little 5 minutes, and thank you very much for everyone who has spent the time with me. I can imagine just listening to me talk for half an hour will have limited appeal to some people. So if you have made it this far, I very much appreciate it. Let's finish with 5 minutes of looking at a beautiful, beautiful photography book. And I've picked out a few of the images from within this book. Now, this is the book called Land, and it was by the photographer Faye Godwin, female British photographer. And I've put here 1931 to 2005. She unfortunately passed away in 2005. Now, many of you, I hope, know who Faye Godwin is and have seen lots of her work. I wanted to share this one because a couple of reasons. One, the work's amazing. Two, I don't hear much about Faye and her work on the general scene, if you will. That may just be the scene I'm in. But I used to run a podcast for a number of years interviewing landscape photographers and other photographers, but the primary interviews were with landscape photographers. And we often used to talk about their influences, people they liked and stuff they'd seen inspired them. And not once did Faye Godwin's work come up. And in all the various YouTube videos and all sorts of content that we can, consume these days, I very, very rarely see Faye Godwin's name come up when we talk about the past generation of amazing landscape photographers. Now, I am by no means a Faye Godwin authority, but she was, at the time, extremely highly regarded as a landscape photographer. And also, she did environmental landscape photography, she did portrait photography, she did close-up photography, she did a whole manner of things. And she was often inspired by the land and inspired by poetry and written work as well. And I'm going to show you some images from the book. But Barbara, that's amazing. You met Faye Godwin at one of her talks. Very interesting lady. I never got to meet her. Obviously, our times didn't necessarily pass over, which is a real shame because she seemed like a character. There are a couple of YouTube videos out there where you can see her working in the field. And she spent a lot of time shooting in Scotland. I'm going to mention that when we get into this book as well. But just before I do, Ralph, I've had this book since it first published and it stays in my library. Absolutely sensible man, Ralph. This one is a reasonably recent addition to me. I'd seen a lot of the work before, and there was a couple of other Faye Godwin books out there. But I managed to pick this one up secondhand, and I wanted to put a secondhand book into this book of the month little position because I actually go and scout around me locally, and Jez, I shouldn't tell Jez because he might go and beat me to it now, but often in a lot of charity shops, things like that, secondhand shops, you can often find really, really high quality photography books. Yes, a little bit used, you know, like this one. But they'll often, the images are fine. It's often just the outside. You can often find really interesting stuff. And so I kind of go on a cyclic thing every month where I give some things away to charity, and I have a nose through those charity shops trying to see if I can find a little gem. And this Faye Godwin book I picked up for £10, which is pretty decent because I think they tend to go for a bit more than that online nowadays. Now, just as I sort of scroll through the images, Faye spent a lot of time in the Highlands and the Scottish Islands, and she was funded, and a lot of that was from an Arts Council fund, which supported some of her work documenting and landscape photography in that area. Now, you don't get a great deal of that support these days, so that was obviously a great thing that she had, and it helped her spend the amount of time there. And I really love this work. And I know it's very difficult. You're watching this through a screen, and these pictures I just shot on my phone of the book spreads, as it were. But this is fantastic because it's order in the chaos, and it's obviously these croft kind of vibes within the Highland areas. But I just love the black and white imagery here. And I'm just going to jump on, actually, sorry, to the next spread, because I think if Faye Godwin, and this is by no means any sort of measure of success, by the way, because she was universally accepted as extremely successful and very highly regarded. But what I wanted to really say is these types of images, this attention to detail, these inner landscapes as well, I know they seem very modern. I think that's what I'm trying to say. If I saw these sorts of things being posted by what I would call leading landscape photographers these days, they would be very highly respected and regarded and liked and enjoyed by a lot of people. And so I find it a bit weird that I don't see much of her name being mentioned. And like I say, a lot of the images that she's had out there, I can see a lot of influences of modern day landscape photographers have come from these images. Now, does that mean they've seen her work? And really, I've got a few of these standing stone images in. Jez is on his way to Oxfam. Yeah, it's already gone, Jez. You're too late. But Oxfam's a good place to start. There's a lot of standing stone images, which there are obviously many of present in the Highlands and the islands up there in Scotland. But what Faye did absolutely beautifully was capture in black and white film this dramatic light that I think we all understand when we get the dark skies and this deep, deep power of light and the shadows it casts as well. So I wanted to include a couple of these. But also, she had a real eye for the inner landscape stuff as well. And I love images like this, quieter images, softer images, which are much less obvious, landscapey images in terms of broader vistas. But they're really beautiful. And this book, Land, you can pick it up online, secondhand, or like I say, you can trawl around secondhand places or charity shops trying to find one. It's really, really worth getting because she should be on everybody's bookshelf. And as I say, it's amazing to see how much of the modern landscape photography has been influenced by this, even not directly, but just how many of us go out and see things in a particular way. And as I say, if a lot of this stuff was turning up online now as new work, it would not surprise me from, I'm saying if she was 30 years forward from where she was, because I see a lot of contemporary work, I say, that mirrors this. So basically, Faye Godwin, Land, go and find the book, or any Faye Godwin book, to be honest. I wanted to just finish with a little double spread as well of her later work, which tended to be more focused in the 80s. This was more around what I would call environmental portraits or environmental landscape photography. So less of the kind of, not postcard look, but you know what I mean, less of the classic landscape, more to do in the documentary side or the environmental portrait side, where she revisited places and obviously signs of decay. And she was very concerned about the ecological situation that we were facing. And if we think about that as a message from 30 or 40 years ago, why are we still in the mess we're in now, and in a much deeper mess, in fact? This talk about ecological issues was being raised by artists and, of course, scientists and everyone else for many, many years. So it's not a new theme, it's not a new thread, but it seems like it's sort of fallen on deaf ears or nothing much has happened, but that's a whole other topic for another day. So Faye Godwin, Land, go and check out some of her work if you can. Find it. There is that book to finish with. Right, just as we finish then, I'm just going to promote Adrian, who is up next with us Tuesday, 25th of July. So in 2 weeks' time, I will be back as normal with a guest. The guest is Adrian Beasley, and we're going to be talking primarily black and white. It's going to be a bit of a black and white session, and we're going to be talking working with your phone. We're going to be talking working with camera. We're going to be talking a bit of processing. We're going to be talking about some of the various images and tours that Adrian runs and the tuition-based things that he does within that, around print and around processing as well. So do join me in a couple of weeks' time for that here on YouTube or on Facebook. And that will be back Tuesday night, 8 p.m, 25th of July, myself and Adrian Beasley. Now, let me just remove that from the stream as I finish up. A little note here. Sorry, too much multitasking. Ken says land is still available through Amazon also as a paperback. Yes, absolutely, Ken. And I would say to go and try and find it. And Hazel, a very good book, part of my uni reading a few years ago. Indeed, Hazel. So thank you very much for joining me. Hopefully, we'll still be in the ashes. There it is. We'll still be in the ashes and we can talk more cricket next time. But I will be here with Adrian Beasley. For now, thank you very much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this little interlude for 30 minutes as we cover the latest news, info, and exhibition. If you have anything going on, an exhibition, a book, a Zine, anything you want us to promote to this audience, let me know. A new website, whatever. Leave a comment here or email admin@lightandland.co.uk and I will help you promote it and share it with our audience here. But in the meantime, I wish you a good couple of weeks out with your cameras, and I look forward to seeing you again in 2 weeks' time with Adrian Beasley for another one of our Light and Land behind the lens sessions with him, and we'll spend a good hour chatting all things photography with Adrian. But for me, cheerio and good night for now.